Alrighty.
Welcome, guys. How's everybody
Good
doing?
evening. Welcome to the first edition of Health Talk with the Mott in 2019.
Whoop, whoop.
We are trying to tie in our Instagram family so they can join us.
And they don't know how to do it.
Look, for somebody that, like, I'm supposed to be good with technology, like, I should be able to figure this out. Wait a minute. Oh, they changed it. Instagram changed it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
Let us know where you're from. Comment in the comments where you're joining us from.
Let's go live. Alrighty. We are now live. There they are.
Hey, IG.
Hey, What's going on?
Welcome, guys.
Yeah, so it's New Year 2019. This is the first edition of Health Talk with the Motts for the month of January. A lot of people are thinking about their health and wellness goals. They're setting their quote-unquote New Year's resolutions. Feel free to chime in, like, in the chat. Let us know, like, what are some of your health goals for this year. I think a lot about, most people say I'm going to start going to the gym, or they're thinking about changing up their diet, lifestyle changes as well. And so as we take time to reflect on making some of those changes, like, I thought that it would be a good idea to start with, like, the basics and get back to really the core of what proper health and wellness is about, especially if you stay here in the United States or have really become accustomed to Western medicine. It's a very different way of thinking. So we wanted to kind of address that this evening, because there's a lot of things that we found that are beneficial for Dana and I. If you guys can see her, let's center her. But we want you guys to get as much benefit as possible as well. And so, you know what? And there's a blind spot. I'm going to turn on this light really quickly because I want to make sure. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Coming to you in HD. All right. So let's start with the philosophy here. For those who know me personally, like, I come from a family of, I don't want to say the whole family's like this, but my grandmother was a nurse. I mean, for those who know me personally, that's what got me into working in the healthcare industry about 6 or 7 years ago. And one of the major things that I noticed while working in that field is just the mentality that we have here of Western medicine, and it's very retroactive. So I would see countless patients who would only come to the hospital when something went wrong. So they would wait until they had that heart attack or that stroke, or would wait till they couldn't breathe, the room is spinning, or whatever that major healthcare issue was before they would come into the doctor. And you would ask them, well, when was the last time you seen your primary care physician or your doctor? And most of the time they wouldn't be able to tell you, like, it had been that long. Or you would ask them, well, what are you doing to take care of yourself at home? And they're like, nothing really. There's this mentality that we can have whatever we want to eat, or we can not exercise, or take a certain amount of care of our bodies and just deal with it later. And what that's done mentally is it's made it socially acceptable for us to say that this is going to happen to everybody, and I'm just going to enjoy my time until it happens to me. Like,
And really it goes back to that being proactive versus reactive. So in general, we think most of the time reactive. So you get a headache and, I take medicine, right? And it's also very similar when I think about a lot of times when people start getting into natural health. So they think the aftermath, right? They think once there's a problem, then I try to treat it, right? Versus looking at what's the root cause, because there is always a cause.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about this evening. Getting down to, learning the difference or unlearning certain practices that may not have served you well in the past, especially when we're talking about health goals. So let's expand upon that for a minute. So Dana mentioned something that's pretty interesting. I came from a background like we took a medication for everything. I was an extremely sickly child. 9 times out of 10, I would always hurt myself, and I would have major headaches growing up. So it was just normal for me, at least, to, like Dana said, if I have a headache, like I'm reaching for the Excedrin or the Tylenol. If I caught a cold, that's when I'm starting to, what's the popular thing that came out, Emergency or Super C or something, like that's when I'm like starting to pop my vitamin C, drinking tons of orange juice, which like did not serve me whatsoever. And so that was normal to me. Like that is the normalcy that we've created, is when something's wrong, like now we reach for a medication. So understanding that brings us to the point where when you're getting into natural health and trying to take care of yourself, like being more responsive to your body and recognizing when something feels off. One of the major things that I remember when I was going through schooling was we kind of lack that sometimes because we defer to the professionals and say, well, they know everything, so I'm going to trust their judgment. Which, I mean, feel free if that's what you want to do, but I personally trust my body first and foremost. I can't tell you how many times, and people have told me stories too, people have gone to seek healthcare, and I'm not knocking professional healthcare at all, but they've gone to seek professional help or professional healthcare, and they'll still feel the same. But the common response they'll get is, oh, well, the doctor told me that's normal. The doctor told me that's fine. Well, that's not normal. That's not fine. I mean, like, we are designed to feel, to have energy, to sleep well, and to feel well the good majority of the time. If it's the opposite way, like, then that means that there's something wrong. So natural health and being proactive about your health addresses saying, well, okay, I need to get to the core of what's causing this. So, like, Dana had a good example. We were talking about our son a couple weeks ago. And for those who know our little 4-year-old son, he's very energetic, but he was like I don't want to call him the problem child, but he had a lot of issues, especially from a young age. And so when he was born, he had eczema and serious issues with his sinuses and allergies. So one of the things that we found out was that it was linked to his gluten intake. So we were having a serious conversation about that because it was like we noticed that every single time that he would have like wheat or gluten, like when he would go to sleep at night, like he would have these major issues with his sinuses and his breathing. And so what was your suggestion? Your suggestion was just to cut out the gluten?
Yeah, I mean, take out what is causing the problem. And I would say, too, you have to remember, too, there's 2 different types of allergens. So sometimes we might have allergic reactions where it's like, oh, I eat peanut butter and then my, throat closes up and my mouth swells up, or I had a cat on my lap and then my eyes got watery and I had a reaction right away, right? Other reactions can take days, right? So it might be something that you ate Monday that's not showing up and having issues until Wednesday. So it's important to remember that too when we're talking about sensitivities and things like that when we're putting them in our diet. And I did want to just kind of backtrack.
Go ahead.
When we talked about these 2 opposing viewpoints when it comes to health care. Now they can't, and that doesn't mean that they can't work together, because I do believe that medicine has its place, natural remedies have their place, and you should work alongside your medical professional, right? But with those 2 opposing viewpoints, I think it's very important to understand in your more traditional, we would say, medicine or allopathic, that word literally means other disease, right? So disease, right? But we want to eliminate that word disease from our vocabulary. We don't even want to say that, right? So when they see problems, they view it outside of the body, right? So there's germs and you inhale germs and then you had a reaction and something happened. That is kind of the viewpoint when you think of allopathic medicine outside of the body. So something invades the body, the person gets something that happens, disease, drugs, surgery. That's kind of that's kind of the system that they base it on, right? So the other viewpoint or line of thinking when it comes to health is more of a holistic view. So when we think of that more holistic view, their philosophy is more from the inside or within the body. Okay, so when we think of our body, it's simply its inability to fight back or combat things. Okay, so I love this quote, and I'll just kind of read it. It says, "The parts of the body are interrelated in ways that are so complex, so sophisticated, so elegantly orchestrated, and exquisitely tuned that all medical technology has only the crudest, faintest understanding of just a few basic mechanisms. In most cases, the body can heal itself if provided with the opportunity. It does this from the inside out. The reality is, most of the time, our bodies are fighting off stuff, and it works so beautifully that we don't even realize it. Like, you probably have illness, things rolling through your systems all the time on a daily basis, but the body just naturally knows how to work with it, how to fight it off, and how to do certain things. And so when we think about that, we work from within, right? So shifting that mindset, right, even especially this time of year, because so many more people are having issues and things like that, when you're working within, then your body has what it needs to fight back.
Mm-hmm. So let's move to talking about some of the practical things that a person can do then when they're looking to transition to either a holistic approach. Because you talked about the body's ability to heal itself given the right circumstances. So the number one thing that I would recommend for someone like who's just getting started, or even if you've been around for a while, is look at your environment, the things that you have control over that you can change. So, I mean, this time of year, a lot of people are catching the cold and the flu. So what are some things that you can control that come in and out of your household? I know that, like, in the work environment, that's kind of limited because you can't control who comes to work sick, number one. But, you know, it's everyone shares that space. But are we making sure that, like, we're providing the best environment, or providing an environment that's difficult for germs to populate in our homes? That would be the number one thing I would say. Look at, and even our diet. Mm-hmm. So people who know Dana and I personally, like, we're huge advocates for drink plenty of water, and look at your diet. The example that I was giving with my son and how gluten affects him, like, we notice the nights that he does not have anything with gluten in it, like, he sleeps like a baby. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, he is our baby, but he sleeps like a baby. It's so much better. So by removing something that was causing an issue, that would be a good place to start as well. And then
the other thing I would say is also understanding how certain things work in the body. So even something simple like processed sugars, right? So processed sugars retard your immune system.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they go in,
Big
they
time.
Confuse everything, and now your body's like, wait, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, so think about stuff like that too. What generally happens when you think about going back to school? What type of rewards do teachers usually give your kids? Right? Sugar, right? Even I think of, like, different friends and things like that. They think they're doing well by, you know, giving more sugar. But if your child is having a diet with a lot of sugars and things like that, or even if we're not checking labels, the reality is what makes everything taste good? Sugar. Right? Right. They put it in their fries. They put it in everything when they're cooking. So it's important to be mindful of even little things that it can be creeping up in. Also, we think of things that disrupt with our hormones, right? So if our hormones are out of whack, then we gain weight, and there's so many other consequences to that, and then it's messing again with our immune system.
You know, one thing I think about when you're talking about something like that, so for years, like, my favorite drink was orange juice.
Yeah.
Like, even when we first got married, like, I would buy like Dana does not like orange juice whatsoever. Like, I would buy a gallon of orange juice and I would drink it by myself within like a day or so. And it wasn't until I learned that, like, orange juice has a ton of sugar in it. Like, and it's funny that people would tell you drink it when you're sick because it has the vitamin C. Like, no, have an orange instead. Like, there's a lot of sugar, and that sugar pretty much impairing your immune system. And I'm not saying that everyone's drinking a ton of orange juice, but having the excess sugar that impairs your immune system can be causing a lot of issues as well. So certainly look at your diet. Think about things like kidney failure, heart disease. Like, what do those stem from? Like, a lot of the patients that I used to see who had cardiovascular issues, a lot of that was related to their diet. You know, so I'm not saying that if you're a person who loves to eat ribs and junk food and chicken and fries and stuff, like, that you can't have that at all, but can you cut back on that? And you'll notice that you'll start to feel a lot better. Mm-hmm. So look at that. You had something else to add?
I was just going to say, and then your body really, like, because I don't believe personally that there's one diet that fits every person, right? Everybody is uniquely made, and there's certain foods that are going to respond to you well. So that's why, too, right now we know that we're going to be starting a cleanse, right? So a cleanse is going to help you to have a fresh palate and to try not to confuse your system. Because if you've been putting things in it that maybe your body does not respond well to, it might start getting immune and be like, okay, well, I guess we'll try to work with this. And it could be affecting you in other ways. So by eliminating and starting, a lot of times what will happen is then when you reintroduce things back, then your system can really regulate, hey, no, this is not good for my system. Yeah. Or we need to stop doing this, right? So that's what I was saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, that was a good point, too. You can find out who the culprit is. So I want to transition just a little bit because we have like 10 minutes left. But I want to talk about, like, people will ask us, like, well, what made you get into holistic approaches? And for anybody who doesn't know us, like, we're huge Oilers. We are big proponents of being your own health advocate. But one of the reasons that, like, and I know people have probably heard, like, Dana tell her story, or like she grew up with, a family who kind of approached things holistically. But one of the big things that changed my mind when it came to even looking at a holistic approach was the science behind learning to support your body systems. So when we talked about being proactive versus reactive, like, a lot of times, like, our body is not getting enough of what it needs. So then when something happens, now we need a medication. And understanding how medications work compared to maybe like your natural supplements or something that's more natural, it's completely different. So medicine says something is wrong. And I'll give an example. I mean, obviously you don't take a medication for a broken arm. But, like, let's say that your arm is broken like this. Well, the approach with medication, I'm sorry, I'm blocking your face to Instagram. But the approach with medication says, this is wrong, we need to fix it. So I'm going to give you a medication, it's going to fix it for 4 to 6 hours, and then your body's natural response is going to say, okay, so we're going to go back to this. Because this is normal for us. So you have people that are stuck on medications for years, constantly doing this. Okay? So a holistic approach says, well, let's look at what's causing this, and we need to fix that. So when you have things that you're taking into your body that's supporting the systems and encouraging the body to fix it, you're going to see that body says, oh, that's not right. It's supposed to be like this. So you'll notice that those things will change and it'll stick. And that's, to me, like one of the major differences, because like we're not just trying to fix the symptom. You know, I jokingly said to somebody last night who were like, yeah, I'm taking all kinds of medicine because they were sick. And they're like, I'm taking all this medication. I'm like, oh, you just want to be comfortable? Because that's really what it's designed to do.
And the reality, too, is when you think about natural approaches, right, it's going to make suggestions. It's going to say, this is how we should work. This is how we should work. And once the body can start functioning back to what it was supposed to do, again, then we're working from within. Once we start working from within, it is strong enough to work on its own, then it's going to function the way it's supposed to function.
I mean, and that's why they really, like the science behind it really encourages support. Like you think of a child trying to ride a bike, like that child cannot ride a bike on its own unless they're a prodigy and they start pedaling really fast. But usually you'll hold on to the bike until that child is comfortable enough to be able to ride on their own. Same thing with your body and the systems in your body. You want to encourage them and support them and build them up until they're strong enough to function the way that they're supposed to. Mm-hmm. And so whatever your path to that is, like, do your research. There are like tons of research on, and this is why we decided to go with essential oils. There are tons of research on essential oils and how, like 100% therapeutic grade essential oils and how they support your body's systems. Do your research on that, because you're going to find that it's going to be really, really beneficial.
But it has to be a lifestyle too, right? Okay. It has to be all of the things. You need to move. You need to eat right. You need to drink plenty of water. You need to rid your environment of toxins, rid your body of toxins. It has to be the full spectrum of things. You cannot isolate one thing and think that, okay, now I'll be good. Or we can't do something for a period of time, because that'll be another thing I'll hear people tell me, well, I went vegan for,
30 days.
30 days and I'm not skinny and nothing happened. So yeah, that's not for me. Well, the reality is it's not even it's not even a routine or a habit by then. You at least give it 90 days. But again, you have to see what works for your system, and it has to become a lifestyle. Same thing with the oil. You're not going to use this one oil this one time and just have, it's a miracle and like all is good, right? What are you doing every single day for wellness for your body? What are you doing every single hour for wellness for your body? What is your environment? What are you doing to support those things? And I just real quick, I like to also take a look at, what possibly is your genetic code, right?
Oh, we were so in line, because that's exactly what I'm thinking right now.
So there's certain things that genetically I'm probably more predisposed, because I look at, unfortunately, even the women in my family, the odds for me is not very good, right? So knowing that, I have to be proactive, and I need to support those things that could turn on in me, right? If I support those now, more than likely in the future, either I can keep that from happening, or I can keep it from happening as soon.
Or even lessen the effects.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, like, if you are somebody who's prone to heart disease, and that runs in your family, like, it's probably lifestyle, but if that were to happen to you, you want to be able to recover. And so that's the big thing. Like, I know for my family, like, diabetes is huge, which is interesting because I'm not a huge fan of sugar, like never really was as a kid. But knowing that, like, that's something that I have to be aware of in my choices that I make. So that's why I am active, and I do take into consideration the foods that I eat. So that's a really good point. Like, there's a reason why when you go to visit your doctor, they ask for your health history, like mom and dad's side, like what runs in the family.
Right, but it doesn't mean you have to get it.
Right. So yeah, really, that's what we wanted to encourage people. Like, know the difference, know what your options are, and then, then try to make changes that are in line with that. Like, really be a steward of your own health. And it's going to take time. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen overnight. Like, think about this time of year, like people who are getting in the gym, like January is the highest month for like population people at the gym, and then like February, like it just starts to subside.
Yeah.
Like people fall off. So this is going to be like a lifelong journey. You might start and stop multiple times, but doing something is always better than nothing, right? Action is better than no action. So even if you can make small changes today and gradually add to that, you'll be better off for it.
Yep. Join a community of like-minded people. If other people are thinking like you are when it comes to health and wellness, it'll be easier to make those choices and stick with your decisions. Unfortunately, if your environment, the people around you, are not on the same page, and health-wise, mental, emotional, it's going to be harder to stick with anything that you might be doing. So is that it?
Yeah, I just was going back and reading the comments. So really one quick thing that was in the comments I wanted to add. A good suggestion that Bernice made is set up daily goals to decrease sugar negative nutrition. So she says, I find when I go cold turkey it does not work. Any suggestion to start a proactive program?
Yes.
So yeah, you're not going to be able to go cold turkey. Like I look at people who like give up caffeine and like within a couple days like they have those caffeine headaches.
Right. Well, and it's not to say that you can't do that, but the reality is if you slowly, gradually replace things and make small steps, you can keep rewarding yourself, and your brain is like, oh yay, and it'll be more consistent, and it's more likely that you will stick with it.
Yeah, it's a reprogramming. So like we said, start small and build up. Those small changes, they add up.
Yep. But we would love to help people with their goals, help them, set up, your own wellness consult regime. We would love to help people do that as well. Yeah. And then we have some amazing events coming up. We have our spa party coming up on Sunday, so that'll be a nice time to relax, pamper yourself, and our rally coming up on the 19th, which is also awesome, especially if you're making some amazing transitions this year. We will have a personal trainer and nutritionist on hand. We will also have, I forgot the other guy, but
look, I'm bad with names.
Tashina, can you pop that in the comments? I forgot the other guy that's speaking. But two amazing people in their fields that, again, if you're trying to reach certain goals, it's going to be amazing for that.
And it's going to be fun. It's superhero themed.
Yeah. Make sure y'all dress up with your superhero costumes.
So feel free to join us. Like, tickets are on sale. They go up at the end of the week. But feel free to join us. It's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of good information as well.
And we'll go back and answer any questions in the comments that you might have. Again, let us know where you're from. We appreciate everybody joining us.
Yeah. All right. So thank you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye, guys.